This is Eat, Sleep, Invest, the marketing podcast for real estate investors to get more deals. Hey, welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Eat, Sleep, and Invest. I'm your host, Brian Driscoll, and I'm here with Matt Hayes. What's going on, man?
What's up, buddy? How are you? I feel like we were doing this like a few days ago on the other way around.
It's like deja vu.
Deja vu all over again, man.
Right,
yeah, bro.
So yeah, Matt, it's going to be an interesting conversation here because you play in the Airbnb space. Why don't you give everybody a little background on everything you're involved with and what you do?
Yeah, so here's the deal, man. My wife and I have been investing in real estate going on 20 years now. This is our 20th year that we've been in this game. We've done everything from, we started in land deals, single family, then we did rentals, then we did flips, wholesales, and we just kind of kept playing around in this space. And, you know, last year just totally kicked my ass at our flipping company. We had 42 deals under contract. Everything's going great. All this money's pouring in. Well, then this hedge fund just pulled out all their contracts. And now I own these houses. So these weren't wholesales to them where I could just back out of my contract. I own them. I was renovating. I had millions of dollars tied up in cash and financing. And so around the middle of the year, it was kind of that, oh shit factor. What the hell am I going to do? And, you know, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a determined person. And honestly, I do my best work when my back is up against the wall. And so, I mean, we grinded. We were able to unload all 42 houses. Mind you, like I got no earnest money, nothing like that. It was a big hit to our business. It did not cripple it crippled our company, but it did not put us out. And so we had a lot going on there for 2.5, years. We were selling deals to this hedge fund, and it was great. And I mean, they were paying $30,000-$40,000 over ask on a dumbed down rehab. So rehab that normally cost me $50,000, I'm paying like $25,000 because they want the cheapest crap. And I'll tell you, and this is all going to make sense while I'm going into this on why I'm talking about my failure last year. But recognizing it, I think, is a really important factor of being a businessman and an entrepreneur. And it's not hiding behind your failures. It's just talking about them so other people don't make these same mistakes. So we wholesaled some. When I say wholesale, I really mean like fire sale. Like I took about half the houses and like just get rid of them. The ones that I knew were really bad. Then about the like 8 or 9 of them we rehabbed for retail products. So some of these houses were already in the middle of a crappy renovation. And when I say crappy, I mean Formica, stock cabinets at Home Depot, linoleum, cheapest carpet, cheapest lights, cheapest faucets. So I had to rip all that stuff out, throw it in the dumpster, re-renovate these houses on a scale that people want them, because the hedge fund's just using them for rentals, so they don't really care. So we kind of upscaled these rehabs, and then when we went to sell them, we were in a completely different market. So when we sold these houses and put them on the market in the Q3 and Q4, they were just sitting, and they were really nice houses. And so, Blair and I are like, what the hell's going on? Like the past 3 years, it's been like, at least good traffic, 1 or 2 offers, sometimes 1 million offers. But it was like a ghost town because we were right in that transition when the rates were going up half a point, half a point. And so then we're like, so what do we do? So instead of thinking we'll get like 400 for a house, we ended up selling houses for like 350, 320, completely losing all of our equity, just like that. And so, we lost a bunch of money doing all this, but we got rid of them. Then a chunk of the houses we turned into short-term rental, chunk of the houses and we turned into long-term rental. And so when you go through a transition like this in anybody's business, you're really analyzing, okay, what did we do wrong? What can we improve upon? Where was the breakdown? Why were we so risk adverse and just like putting in everything out there, which a lot of entrepreneurs do. But I realized how fragile the flipping model was when it comes to doing it on a scale like that if you have 42 houses and the market drops even 10%, which it did, it dropped even further, that's literally almost $1 million just gone. And so with that said, if it wasn't for our Airbnb properties, our short-term rentals, and the cash flow that those were bringing in, we would have been really struggled. I don't know if we would have been able to survive it, because we have a lot of short-term rentals in 3 different states. And now I've realized that I've seriously made some mistakes by allowing those properties that I have renovated and made beautiful and sold for a quick 30, 50 grand, 80 grand, whatever those numbers were, when I should have kept them and turned them into a long-term producing asset. I love it on our podcast on mine when you were talking about how you don't sell any real estate. Well, I have sold thousands of houses, and I'm almost like, I think that if I would have figured out a way to keep like 200 of those, I would have been semi-retired by now. But we only have a portfolio of just under 50 houses, 20 are long-term rental tenants, a few commercial buildings, and then the most of them are Airbnbs. And so getting to the Airbnb space, like this whole thing in front of me was the massive cash flow was in the Airbnbs, and I didn't really see it. I just used it as another option. So anyways, we've been in that space for going on four plus years now. And I am just so thrilled to death that we had that. I mean, if not, I don't know what would have happened. I don't want to use the, doomsday words and stuff like that, but it would have been a real struggle for Blair and I and our company. And, but when you have your whole team built around a wholesaling and a flipping model, it's like, okay, well, I felt like I kept having to feed stuff to the team, and it almost felt like I was just doing it for them, and I wasn't really doing it for the company. So yeah, man, that's my story in a nutshell.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. Let me ask you this before, because I want to talk about some Airbnb stuff. But before we get into that, what are some of the things looking back that other flippers should be looking at to try to avoid the same situation?
Well, that is a whole other podcast, but I'll just give you a couple of highlights. Number one, hire the right contractors. I've had 3 contractors steal from me last year, and their employees steal from me. You have to make sure you get 5 referrals from a contractor, and you call every single one of them. You have to make sure you get a W-9, a contract, and insurance information. Make sure that your bullshit radar is not going off. Well, mine was, but I had all these houses I had to renovate, so I had no choice. I'm like, okay, I'll hire him, I'll babysit him. Ended up stealing my money. And then the work was just awful. God awful. People just were not experts in their craft. Then I would also, for if you're a home flipper and you're listening to this, is, man, run your numbers on the worst case scenario. And you don't have to flip a deal right now. If you don't have one and you're like, man, I got to get one, that's almost a detriment to you. If you get pressured into getting one for whatever reason, and you think you'll make it up on the back end or make it up in the rehab, I'm telling you right now, you're going to go over budget on rehab. I didn't get into the inflation that murdered us. Our rehab was supposed to be 50 grand and turned into 75. So you've got to run your numbers so conservatively. And if doomsday happens and you can still make money, okay, let's do that deal. Stop thinking that you're going to be able to get these things done real quick, because we were turning and burning. But guess what? When that one buyer went away and you've got all this stuff to do with no money coming in the door, that's pretty hard. So quality people, and I'm telling you, sometimes, almost all the time, the cheapest bid's not the one to buy. The one to go. You got to get somewhere right in the middle. Good, trustworthy people. Make sure you're checking on your rehabs every single day. And if you can't do that, you have to do it weekly. If you don't have a management team and a structure in place, you've got to go that route.
Gotcha. So basically, buy right. You can't afford
Buy right.
Right now. You used to be able to still make mistakes, and the market would correct. You'd make money. Now you got to buy right. You got to buy what we're supposed to be doing all the time.
Yep.
All right, cool. So let's talk about some Airbnbs. So you said they saved So you have about 50. Which states are you in?
No, we don't have 50. We've got 33 in 3 different states, 3 different markets. So Kansas City, St. Louis, and Florida.
Okay, cool.
The
And where are you
luxury
located?
stuff, the luxury stuff's down there in Florida, and then a lot of suburban rentals is kind of our bread and butter.
Okay, and where are you located?
Well, I'm in St. Louis. So I
All
say
right,
St.
cool.
Louis, but I live in a suburb outside and nobody knows where it is, but that's where I am.
All right, so you have Airbnbs like in your city. That's where you live, right?
Yep.
And then you have the luxury ones down in Florida, vacation spots. So it's it's almost two different animals there, right?
Oh, 100%. It's 2 completely opposite ends of the spectrum. And let's talk about that for a minute, because the vacation style property is a completely different booking dynamic. When I say booking, it's who's booking the property, who's staying it there, why are they coming to town? And so what we realized is that you can get a house for $200 or $250, put all the bells and whistles you want on this sucker, and you're in my market, you're going to be able to get between $60,000 and $80,000 gross revenue on that property a year. So what I came up with was this 20% rule. So if the house is valued at $300,000 valued, right, the appraisal, if it's at $300K, then it should be doing $600 or $60,000 a year in gross revenue. And so we had these just sprinkled in all these little pockets throughout our area. And it is difficult because the regulations have never been tougher. A lot of cities and states and municipalities and stuff like that are cracking down on it. But there are all these gaps between unincorporated areas or areas that have a very high demand but few properties. In this one city, about 15 minutes from my house, I did get lucky with this one. There was no Airbnbs. But the city, okay, it didn't have any restriction. But nobody was rolling the dice because you'd go to AirDNA. Everybody goes to AirDNA, check their property. Well, if the data is shit, then it's going to show your property is crap. So we would look at the data, and it says our property is going to do terrible. Well, there's no data to pull from.
Right.
So we went ahead, we rolled the dice a little bit. This was 2 of those houses that I was supposed to flip. We went ahead and re-renovated them, all made them cute, put shiplap up. My wife and I took a trip and saw Chip and Joanna Gaines down in, we didn't see them. We went to see their property, the silos and all that. And we got so many awesome ideas. We stayed in one of their short-term rentals. And anyway, so now all our houses got these floating shelves and shiplap. It's just gorgeous. My wife manages all these too. So don't think that I actually know how to do that side of the business. Trust me, bro, that's all her. Managing cleaners and how to fold a bed and towels. I'll mess it up to the day I die. But so we rolled the dice with those 2 houses, and they're just doing phenomenal. And the number one question I get, or maybe it's not even a question, it's more of a statement. It's why are people coming to your house? This doesn't make any sense. And I'm like, I don't know. Go ask Hilton. Go ask Holiday Inn Express. Go ask Marriott. Why did you spend $12 million and build that hotel there? That's the question. If there's a hotel nearby that's in the newer, I'm not talking about a rundown piece of crap 40 years ago someone built and things have totally changed, then there is a draw to that community. And so Blair and I, we started polling everybody. Why are you coming to town? Well, man, I've heard everything. And honestly, very few things are repeating other than family. The number one is family. They're either coming because somebody's having a kid or they want to see their grandkids. There's a funeral, there's a wedding, whatever. A lot of that stuff going on. And people don't want to stay at a hotel. They want to be together. And they want to have amenities in a kitchen, in a living room, in a dining room, and all these things, right? In a game room. We're really big about the game rooms. And so, taking all that into consideration, then you got to look at all the business reasons people are coming to town. So there was a haunt convention this weekend in St. Louis. I knew nothing about. I Googled it. It is legit, man. Not people dressing up, but haunted houses and like, I guess, shit you buy for your store, all this stuff. 3-day event in St. Louis, man. And that's what I realized is there's a convention for everything. There's a convention for t-shirts, for freaking furniture. There's a convention for food. There's a convention for any type of business that you're in. Short-term rental, there's a convention in Nashville. In the CG that we go to. Convention for real estate. Everything that you can think of, there's a convention for. So anyways, we had rock climbing championships, all sorts of little league stuff during the summers. Oh my gosh. And they're coming for a week because they're going to make a trip out of it. And I do not live in a tourist destination. And so then what I realized is there are so many pockets across the U.S. just like St. Louis. So you got to stay out of the city and look for those suburbs around the outside of that city that have nice, affordable houses. Stop thinking you got to spend $500, $600, $1 million, $2 million to get yourself a short-term rental. You just don't need to do that. You need to look in good areas where there are restrictions. The reason I say that is because Kansas City is a wild west. There's over 10,000 short-term rentals in Kansas City. And they are going nuts because they didn't have any regulations put in place. But now they do, and they're shutting them down left and right. They're fining you $300 a day if you're not permitted. And to get permitted in the city of Kansas City, you have to get the 66% of your neighbors to agree to allow you to operate a short-term rental. So that's across the street, left, right, and behind. So you need 3 out of 4. And
who'd like to agree to that?
Nobody.
Right.
And that's the thing, that bums me out is that there are people that have really given us a bad rep because we don't have, I'm going to say 1 out of 100 problems in our properties because we're theming them and we're catering to families. We don't want riffraff and trouble and bachelor parties and bachelorette parties and things where people are gathering on a large basis. I don't want any of that crap.
Now, how do you pre-screen for that?
Well, it starts with the property. Pre-screening is almost impossible. But if you have a property that has a game room, things for kids to do, one of the rooms is Star Wars, and it's got a bunk bed in it. Okay, well, and you want to sleep 10 at that house. You're catering the property to your clientele. Yes, we had someone that wanted 10 adults to come stay at the property. And I'm like, dude, I got 3 twin beds. Are you grown men are going to stay in a twin bed? And they canceled their reservation. We had another instance where our property slept 8, but we only had 4 beds. And it was 7 adults, 7 men coming in for construction. It was a bad experience. They left the house nasty and messy. But my wife and I submitted a $1,000 claim that we don't know if we're getting paid for yet. I mean, I'd imagine we will. They left just messy. You know what I mean?
Now, when you submit a claim, are you talking about you can submit a claim to your homeowners, or are you talking about like insurance through Airbnb or the tenant buys? So
I don't know why Airbnb gets a bad rap for this, but I've submitted 3 claims through Air Cover. They have $1 million of insurance on your property.
Liability or physical damage?
Physical damage. They don't have any liability. That I know of. Like I have liability. I have $5 million in liability per house. But I submitted claims on usually cleaning and instantly get them paid. Air Cover, I get paid within an hour. The last one we did, we had to supply some documentation, some invoices, some receipts, additional pictures. I'd imagine it's going to get paid, but it's just a little bit longer process. So
who pays for that coverage? Is that you or the person?
It's
renting?
paid. It's just offered for free for Air Cover. You're paying it in, having your property on there because Airbnb makes a good chunk of money. They get 3% from me and 8% from my guests, so they're getting 11% for the hosting. And I love going through Airbnb, the most user-friendly app that exists. Verbo, not so much, man. I'm not overly thrilled about the communication. I feel like they were first out of the gate and they haven't updated their technology. Well, the two the two roommates that started Airbnb with the air mattresses back in California. I mean, they were in 2012, the Silicon Valley. I mean, that's like the tech space. You know, if you don't know something, you're going to figure it out in that time. So, and now Airbnb is up to 1.4 million listings worldwide. That's a lot.
Yeah, you know what? That brings us up something different on that too. So I know most people, which you may do also, list their properties on Airbnb and VRBO, right?
Yep, we do Airbnb, VRBO, Booking.com, and in our direct booking website.
Okay, how do you avoid double bookings?
Oh, that's so easy. We use Guesty for pros. So, and if you guys want that, just shoot me the link, whoever's watching this, or shoot me a DM and I'll get you the link. But so that is real simple. So we upload, first thing we do, because I like the way Airbnb does this, I have my quirky process. Everybody's got their processes, right? Especially guys like me, we're just weird. I'll go to my phone after I get the photos, the professional photos. So this is after my wife staged the house and it's pretty and it's all set up. Then the picture guy comes, he does his thing. I get the photos and I start the listing on my phone. A lot of people don't do that. I start on my phone because I love the mobile version. You don't get that on the computer. So I do it on my phone. All the photos are there. Real quick upload. I feel like I can do this faster than I can type. So I'll knock that out. Okay. Then I'll click live. I'll block 2 days, the first 2 days, and then I'll go in there and I will clean up the listing. I'll click on the buttons and go through all the suggestions, because that's one thing that Vrbo doesn't do. I think there's probably 1,000 clicks. I should almost count this. 1,000 different options to click and type on Airbnb. You need to do all that stuff. And
are you doing an Airbnb or that app, Guesty?
I'm doing it on Airbnb.
Okay.
I'm almost a Guesty. So once I've got my listing perfected on Airbnb, then we upload it to Guesty. Because Guesty takes all that data and shoves it up or uploads it into Guesty. Then I click one button and it shoots it to Booking.com and it shoots it to Vrbo. So it takes everything that I did in Airbnb, not rewords it, but recalibrates it and pushes it to Vrbo. And this is another reason I really like Vrbo. Airbnb, you can put a property up live instantly. Vrbo takes up to a month to get live. But once you have a lot of properties, then it usually takes about 3 days to a week. Booking.com, much longer.
So then Guesty will update all of those websites too with the availability. Like someone books on Airbnb, Guesty now knows, puts that availability, no longer available on VRBO, Booking.com, all those different sites.
They have an integrated API, so it's just real simple. It goes ping, ping. I mean, it's instant. It's almost like getting a 2-step verification on your Google. So if someone books a week on Airbnb, boom, removes it from the other 2 platforms instantly.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's good to know, because I was always wondering. I'm like, yeah, you book on one. I used as a website when I used to rent my own places before property management. We used Postlets, which was the same. Like you put all on there and it puts on Zillow and Redfin. So similar thing.
Yeah, and so, getting to that, there are also a lot of other websites that you can host your properties on. And sometimes it's like location specific. And even these big property management companies. So we like to go ski a lot. My family does. We've been doing that for almost 11 years now. And we'll go to Breck, and I don't even go to VRBO or Airbnb anymore because there's one management company in Breck. I'll just go to their website, look at the properties, call them, and schedule it. I'm a repeat customer. I don't want to go through Airbnb because I actually know that they're going to charge me 8%. So I'll just book direct. I don't know if there's too much savings there. We're already spending $20,000 to book the place. But at the end of the day, there are those little pockets that you want to try to look into. Now they have a monopoly on Breckenridge.
Right.
I mean, shit, they charge 45% as a management fee. It's crazy.
It is
Key West
crazy.
is a similar thing. They charge 40% down there, man.
Yeah, big bucks. But if they make sense, you know?
Oh, yeah. Well, because it's the platform. But what it's done is for locals that's got a little money, they can really clean up if they want to manage their own property. Because it's so difficult to manage your properties remotely.
Yeah. So you help people if they want to get into Airbnb stuff, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, so we started coaching going on a year now. So we are full-fledged coaching business is up and running. We do basically 3 options. We have the group coaching model, and then the in-person class, and then they have the private mentorship with me. So if anybody's ever interested in that, just let me know. We love helping people out because we were in the rat race ourselves once. I was working 3 jobs, 40 hours a day. I mean, a day. I'm just working. Red Bulls, ramen noodles, and work. That's all I knew. We're trying to raise a family, man. I did that for the first 2.5, 3 years of my life, or my marriage. And I thought that was the way until I picked up that little purple Robert Kiyosaki book. Then we got after it. We didn't have podcasts. We didn't have Facebook, YouTube. Internet was still kind of dial up. Phones, we had them Blackberries. I mean, it just all that kind of stuff, dude. All this technology now. It's absolutely insane. And that's one thing that I was telling my kids the other day, dude, is that, you know, this is kind of switching topics other than the Airbnb. I'm sorry, I get off on these tangents. I see a squirrel and I got to chase it. But if you're a savage, and this is preaching from Joe Rogan, or not Joe Rogan, Dana White. They look at like brothers, man. If you're a savage and you work your ass off, you will be able to run over the competition, this generation that's coming up. If you're 18 to 30, I will outwork you so quick. I'll outwork you one day. I'll outwork you for 3 or 4 year days. You're out there bitching, trying to figure out what your gender is and what you want to do with your life, and you're offended by everything and this nonsense. It's just going to be so easy. And that's what I tell my kids. If you want to work your ass off and really make something of your life, like, I'm not saying you're going to have an easy time doing it. I'm just telling you, it's going to be easy to do that. So I realized in this Airbnb space that in 2020, 2021, and 2022, there's so many people that were rushing to get into it. And this was the Airbnb boom. Okay. We went from 50% occupancy pre-COVID nationwide to 60% occupancy on April 2020. So in a matter of 3-4 months, we went 10% up. So then everyone just started rushing into this space, and they're just throwing furniture in houses and sending it to a management company, manage it, run it. I don't care. Just send me some money. Well, the problem there is that obviously the madness wore off. And now people saying we're in the Airbnb bust. And let's talk about that for a minute. So the VP of AirDNA was on Bigger Pockets a couple of weeks ago. And he gave some really cool statistics that I think everybody needs to be aware of. The first one is that pre-COVID occupancy was 50%. Nationwide, all listings. From Vrbo, Airbnb, okay? That's the data sources that they pull. 50%. In May, it went to 60, and then it held 60 for almost a year. Now, we're at 54% nationwide. So that tells me that we're still above pre-COVID numbers. We just don't have this massive uptick anymore. The second statistic that I thought was awesome is that only 17% of hosts are superhosts. So 1.4 million listings, only 17% of those are superhosts. So what is that? What the hell is a superhost, Matt? Well, a superhost tells Airbnb that you care about your listing. That's pretty much what it does. And you are a qualified host. That means you have 10 plus or 5-star reviews, you don't cancel on reservations, and you're quick on messages. So if you can do that, maintain your Superhost status, you have a 24% advantage on all the other properties. That's a massive number. And I'm not making these up. Go to that other podcast and listen to it. I wrote them down and I've been preaching them now. So that is the data that people need to look at. And so what sets us different, Blair's House, that's the company we've called it. So all of our properties are under this Blair's House umbrella. And so what's really cool about that is we give a shit, is the biggest way to describe it. The beds are made properly. The towels are folded properly. Everything is clean, down to the blinds being turned the correct way throughout the entire property. The batteries and the remotes work. The light bulbs are now. The fridge, ice and water, pots, pans, spices, dishes, 2 coffee makers, 3 coffee makers, game rooms. All of these things, my wife works exceptionally hard at to maintain our standard, because I know I'm going to be able to roll over the competition. And so if people would look at this as a long-term investment and not a quick way to get some cash, you can make a lot of money in this business. And quite frankly, that's kind of where we're at. And that's why we love it so much. And that's why we're, now we've offered a short-term rental property management. So we're so good at what we do, and we have all these systems in place. We started getting people asking us, well, would you manage my property? Because I have no idea how to do it. And so we took on one. I'm actually meeting another client today at noon to go pick up a check and a signed contract. And now we're very specific on properties that we will bring on. Because if it's coming under the Blair's House umbrella, it has to meet a level of quality in the property. And our standards have to be met on a daily basis. Now, something my wife does, one more thing. Something my wife does that most people don't do. And they laugh at me when they do this, or I say this. She checks every single house after the cleaner. Every single.
That's pretty crazy.
Every single house, every cleaning. Because, and I didn't invent this. This is from my property manager I use in Florida, Nick. He's like, you just have to. Because some things that get missed are the simplest things, but you're like, how did you forget that? But what you also forget is that they're cleaning the whole house, doing the laundry, the linens, changing the beds. Well, if her name's on it, which it literally is, and our stamp is on it of approval, well, it needs to be right. So the pillows have to be done the right way. The blinds, we have to make sure that there's soap, shampoo, conditioner, towels, toiletries, all these things that one wants and needs when they come to stay, that has to be done. And so if somebody walks in, and this is another statistic, there's 2 things people are looking for. You have 30 seconds to impress your guest. Did you know that?
Yeah, it makes sense though.
30 seconds. So they walk in, 2 things that happen is what they see and what they smell. So if it smells clean and not like you ran through with Febreze or whatever, and it looks beautiful. So the pillows, the comforters, everything. It just, because here's what happens. When someone finds one bad thing wrong, they will always find 3 or 4 more to support the bad things. We don't do that.
Yeah.
I don't let that happen. And, yeah, man. So good advice for anybody that wants to be hands-on in the business, because this is active income. This is not passive income. No.
Yeah, you're right on that 30 seconds. I just stayed at a place where we actually were going skiing. I stayed at an Airbnb, and all the TVs in the whole place were smart TVs except for the one in the master bedroom. I'm like, it's like $100.
I know.
Just like small stuff like that. You wouldn't think about.
No, and you can easily get that swapped out. And we listen to our guests. Like, so our automated messaging, another reason I love Guesty, because we don't actually get involved in the messaging unless it's a specific message. So all the codes, the address, check in, check out, house rules, do's, don'ts, all that automated. Then the same night they check in, we have another message. Hey, I can't remember exactly what it says because my wife set it up, but it basically says, how is your stay going? Is there anything that you need? How can we better assist you? Blah, blah, blah. We want to make sure you have an amazing stay. And then right before checkout rules get sent over.
Yeah.
And then the next thing is, do not give them chores to do on their way out. Don't do that. We're very simple with this. Like some people are like, start a load of laundry or do this and do that. No. Throw the dishes in the dishwasher, click run, take the trash out, pile up the towels in the bathroom. Like just simple things. That's as far as we take it.
Smart.
A lot of people frown upon the chores that they have to do when they leave a house. But this is at someone else's house. My house. So yeah, I'm going to ask you to take care of it while you're there. And people are never going to take care of it like you are. And you're always going to get 1 in 20 bad guests that do something that you don't like. And you're just going to have to be prepared for that. That's part of the business. Well, I come from a long-term rental perspective, and I've had to renovate every single house I've ever moved a tenant out of, whether it's carpet or paint, countertops, or feces, or junk, or whatever. And all my cash flow evaporated. Man, I'm making $400 a month, $4,800 a year. Shit. 3-year lease is up. I got to renovate the house for $15,000. Well, guess where all that cash flow went? Oh, wait, but I got an asset that appreciates. Well, what if you were able to keep that asset in ready to sell condition year round? That's something to think about. Yeah.
Hey, Matt, how can people reach out to you if they want to connect?
You can go to theairbnbs.com. You can type that in on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, what else? YouTube. You can type The Airbnbs anywhere and you should be able to find me.
Yeah, anyone, reach out if you're thinking about getting into Airbnb or if you have any questions. Matt's there for you. Hey, Matt, thanks for coming on, man. We appreciate you.
Awesome, dude. Awesome. Cool, bro. Thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks everyone for listening. Yeah, we'll get out there, crush it, close some deals. We'll see you next time.